I hope you are doing well. So this is a quick video on advantages of using styled components over regular CSS. So for that, I'll do a quick demo. I'll walk you over the code and I'll take you over the advantages. So this is a simple React application which I have created using, of course, Create React App, and it has two pages. So here you see a button. This is page 1, and I click on the button. This is page 2, and there's another button. So the components that you see here, these buttons, this particular section of the page, these are all created in styled components. So you may ask me what is styled components. So for that, I have their page open. So styled components are like a superset on top of React, and they allow you to inject CSS kind of styles into your React components. So in a way, you can combine CSS into JavaScript, and this is also known as CSS in JS. And there are several other advantages of using styled components. So I'll not go into the details of styled components, rather I'll focus on the advantages and through a demo. So here, as you can see, this is my code. So it's a Create React App application. This is the app.js, and I'm using React Router DOM to define two routes. So these are the two routes which renders page 1 and page 2. The pages are defined here. So if you go and see the page 1, it uses two styled components, container and button. So this is container, this is the button. Let me go and show you the container. So if I open this is my container styled component. So I've imported the module and I have defined a style component. This is the CSS style and this is my container. Similarly, the button is here. So these are the CSS for the button, and this is a style component, and there are some extra properties or CSS styles which are added based on props passed. So if you notice in my demo, so you'll see this is a button which doesn't have a background. It's the same button with a background. So this is all being done by this particular section of the code. Alright, now what's the advantages of using style components? So for that, I have a list here which I created. It's not in proper format, but I will go line by line and I'll explain you the advantages. So the first one is that there's no external CSS. Every styles that you have are being added as inline style in the style block, which is an inline style block inside the head of the HTML page. So if I go and just expand the DevTools and go to my network panel, I'll hard refresh, and this is my CSS panel. So you can see there are no external CSS here. So the whole application I can create without external CSS files. Now there is another application here which is a Create React App which has 3 pages, and here I am using actually external CSS. So just to give you a demo, once I click on a particular user, it goes to details page and then it goes to an edit page. Nothing much, it's a simple app. So here if you go to the CSS panel in the network, so I'll go and hard refresh. So you can see for the home page, it does downloaded the home chunk. Similarly, if I go to the details page, there's no external CSS on this page. If I go to the edit page, you see the edit chunk has been downloaded. So these are external CSS files which are being downloaded. That means there are HTTP calls to the server, and the server responds back with the CSS. So what is the problem with external CSS? So CSS files are render blocking resources. That means the CSS file can cause blockage to your rendering path. So whenever the browser starts to download the CSS file, it has to first download it and then process and execute it so that it can apply the styles to the page. So meanwhile, the rendering of the particular page is stopped or it's freezed. So this is also known as render blocking issues. So external CSS files can cause render blocking issues, and this is normally one of the performance pointers that is reported by either Lighthouse or Google Page Insights. So we'll do a test of that. In fact, I am planning another video where I'll discuss on how to different non-critical CSS and what are critical CSS and how you can improve the performance of your page. Now coming back to style components, so on this demo that we have, we don't have external CSS, which is good thing. So there are no separate HTTP calls, and there's no problem of having render blocking with CSS files. So that's the first 2 points here. So this is definitely an advantage. Now the other advantage is that style components add styles for only those components that are used in the application. So whenever a component is removed from the app, its styles are also automatically removed. So for that, let me go into the browser again and show you how the styles are added currently. So if I open this part, so you see here, that's my style component. This is another component, which is the button component. In fact, let me go to the React debugger tools, so you can see the container, that is the style div, and then the style button. So the elements are there on the page, but where's the style? The style is here. If you go to your head tag, inside you'll see an inline style tag where these particular style classes are being added. So if you go and see in your page, you will see that this is a unique class which has been added to the container, and this unique class is here, so which is the same styles rule that we applied in our container. So that's the style rule. Alright, now so you know that these styles are being added on the inline styles, which is residing inside your head component or the head of the page. Now let me go ahead and remove this container style component. So instead I'll replace it with a div and just save my page. So here at the top, the import statement is still there, but I am not using that on the page. So what happens is that it will actually go ahead and remove the style from my page. So I am refreshed, I've done a hard refresh, and then if I go and see my style, the style tag, you'll see that the extra CSS class is being removed now. So here's the button. This is the unique class of the button, and this is the style rule that is added to the style tag. So the style for the container style component is removed automatically when the Webpack bundle got generated and our build got created. So that's an advantage, because with CSS files, what will happen is that even though you remove components from your application, you might still forget to remove the CSS style rules from your CSS files. So in a way, all the unused CSS will still stay inside your application, and they will, maybe with the complexity of your app growing, even your CSS files may still growing, and of course this unused CSS will then get downloaded to your browser, which can hamper your performance. Usually you can use the code coverage technique or code coverage panel inside your browser to detect unused CSS. So usually you have these commands, Command Shift and P inside your Mac to open the panel, command panel inside Chrome, and then type coverage. So here is your code coverage panel. So I'll create a separate video on this and talk on how to detect code coverage. Alright, what's the other advantage? So the other things are, style components use dynamic CSS class names, so you don't have to maintain class names, no spelling mistakes. So as you can see here, these unique classes are being added to my components, and I don't have to take care of class names manually. There's no spelling mistakes, and manually I don't have to find where or in which CSS file my class resides. So style components automatically take care of all this. So the other point, just to add to the previous point, is that it's easy maintenance, so you don't have to hunt across different files to find styling. And then comes the part of scoping and specificity. So for that, let me go ahead and add my style component back. and just save. So the page refresh. So I have added my styled container back, and this is the unique class. This is another unique class which is for the button. Now the styles are here. So these are the two style classes. Now with style components, always it adds unique classes to the components. So there is no question of style overriding that can happen with normal CSS. And with unique classes also, the advantage is that usually you don't have to specify specificity for a particular style to be applied to the component. So since these are all unique, the styles get applied to the component uniquely. So that's another advantage. And what's the best advantage? So the best one as per me is that style components also do code splitting at its own level. So what that means is that if I'm using two components in page 1, so it will inject only those styles that are needed for the two components to show up. The rest of the CSS will be deferred when the other components load. So to give you an example, so this is my page 1. So if you notice here, page 1 has two components and the styles are added here in the style tag for only those two components. Now keep an eye here. What I'll do is I'll go to page 2 and you will see that dynamically it will add two more classes which are actually the style rules for the other two components. So if I go to page 2, so you see here there are two more classes are being added. So this one class is for the button and the other class is for the section that you see here. So if I go to my page 2, so if you notice my routes, I had page 1 and page 2, so I haven't shown you page 2 till now. Let me go ahead and show you page 2. Page 2 has two imports, which is importing two style components. The button is the same, then there is the wrapper component and then the button. So where's the wrapper? So here's the wrapper component. So it's another style component which has some styles. That's the background color, and these are being used in the page 2. So if you notice, so on my page 2 I have two components and these are the two components, the style section and the style button, and the styles for these are added dynamically at runtime. Alright, so that's one of the biggest advantages of style components, which means that dynamically only the CSS that is needed for the components will be injected. So in a way it's good. It's actually taking care of code splitting at its own level. Alright, so I hope this particular small demo helps you to take a decision on how to style your React application. So style components is definitely an option. There are other ways of styling your React application, that is JSS, which is CSS in JS, and you basically it's JavaScript in CSS. So you can write your style classes as objects, and this is the library or the framework that you can use to inject JavaScript styling. Coming to the demo, so I hope the demo was useful and you understood the advantages of using style components. Thank you so much. If you like this video, just go give it a thumbs up and share it with your friends.